What is going on, you guys? I am back with another video, and I am back predicting a full slate of NFL games for you guys. Man, it's coming by quick, fellas. It's going by quick. Thursday, Sunday, and Monday are our favorite days of the week because NFL football is on. So cherish these weeks. I'm telling you, it goes by quick. You're going to miss these weeks when they're gone. However, we got another big week this Sunday and Thursday and Monday for us. We got a Thursday night game. We have a full slate of Sunday games, and then we have a double header on Monday. So we are feasting. We are living. We are living in the best season of the year right now, and enjoy it. So first, I'm gonna start with the Thursday night game real quick. This may or may not be up before the Thursday night game. I'm pretty sure it might be up after, but anyway, here are my picks if I release this after. I have the Seahawks beating the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. James Conner's out for the season. I think that aspect and that naturalistic and dangerous side of the offense is completely removed. I think Trey Benson is a pretty good running back, and I think he might have a good future to him, but right now I do not trust him to fill the hole of James Conner really well at all. So I got the Seahawks. I trust the defense. I think Sam Darnold's been playing really good. I like the Seahawks weapons way more. I like Najigba. I like Cooper Kupp, Jake Bobo, Torrey Horton, who's been turning it up for the Seahawks. Former Colorado State wide receiver. He's been really good. He had a punt return for a touchdown last week, and he had a receiving touchdown as well. So they are cooking on all fronts, and I think they continue to cook here. I said the Cardinals will start off hot, so I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game. It is in Arizona, but I think the Seahawks defense is one of the very best defenses in the league, and I think they are slept on, and I think they win. I think they move on to 3-1. They should be 4-0. Honestly, the Seahawks, they did not deserve to lose that first week game, and they should have won it. So they should be 4-0, but they're 3-1 after tomorrow's game instead. So moving on, first Sunday game of the day. It's in Dublin at 9:30 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, 6:30 a.m. if you're on the West Coast. The West Coast is the worst side of the country to watch football during. What a nightmare. You got to wake up at 6:30 a.m. to watch the Vikings versus the Steelers. Horrible. I get to wake up at 9:30 a.m. and watch the Vikings versus Steelers, so I take a lot less of a blow. Anyway, Vikings versus the Steelers. I think highly of the Vikings. I think the Vikings are one quarterback away from being a serious problem in the NFC and in the playoffs. I think they might have their guy with J.J. McCarthy. That hasn't been proven yet. He had one good quarter of football and then about 7 other quarters of football that are just dreadful. He was horrible against the Atlanta Falcons, and he was just not good in the first 3 quarters of the Chicago game. He looked lost in about 7 quarters, so that's not a good thing. They got Carson Wentz starting, though, this week. J.J. McCarthy's still recovering from an ankle injury of some sorts. So Carson Wentz is the quarterback. I think that might benefit the Vikings here. And let me to be honest with you guys, the Steelers' defense is not a good defense. They should have let up around like 28, 35 points last weekend against the Patriots. But the Patriots are just inept. They are horrible. They are dreadful. They got to the 1 or 2 yard line against the Steelers twice, and they turned the ball over twice. A Ramondre Stevenson fumble and then a pick by Drake May. So that is horrible. That is horrible. I think the Steelers stink, and I think they show you why they stink this week. I think Aaron Rodgers can still sling the pill a little bit. He still has some really great throws on tape, but that Vikings defense is one of the very best defenses in the league, if not the best. That Vikings defense is scary. What they did to Jake Browning last week, Jake Browning's no Aaron Rodgers, even in Aaron Rodgers' late stages of his career, but man, Isaiah Rodgers had maybe the most perfect defensive game of all time. A fumble 6 and then a pick 6. I think Brian Flores is the best DC in football. I think he continues to prove that with how he's coaching up this defense on the Minnesota Vikings. And I really trust Kevin McConnell. I trust Kevin O'Connell a lot. I really do. I think he's one of the very best head coaches in the NFL, and I think he gets it done. I think the Vikings move to 3-1. They should be 4-0. That glimpse of a Falcons game on Sunday night was weird, especially what we saw from the Falcons the very next week against the Carolina Panthers. I think the Vikings win. I think the Vikings defense gives Aaron Rodgers nightmares. I think his immobility, his lack of ability to move is a huge problem, especially against this Vikings defense. They can't run the ball really well, and I'm not really trusting that wide receiver core. So I think the Vikings win, and I think in large part it's due to the Minnesota Vikings defense and the head coaching capabilities of Kevin O'Connell to get that offense to score a good amount of points to win the game. So, moving on. I'll do this quickly because it's my team, and the team they're playing is not good at all. In fact, it's probably the worst team in the NFL. The Bills are facing the Saints. Now, here's some caution. I think the Bills should win this game by 30 or more points. But if you're willing to take minus 16.5, be careful because the Bills get conservative in games like this. They know the type of food they're eating. They know the type of food they're playing with. And the Bills and Joe Brady get conservative on offense if things aren't going necessarily the way they want to. Like, the Bills will be up at least like 28 points or 21 points in this game, and they'll begin to slow things down. However, I've seen the Bills play against really bad teams and turn it on. Like last Monday night, last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were beating the shit out of the Jacksonville Jaguars because one, we hate the Jags, and two, the Jags had our number for a little while. So that's why we emphasize kicking their ass so much. So I just want to say, be cautious of taking minus 16.5. One, is a big number in the NFL, and two, the Bills and Joe Brady get conservative at times. So despite me thinking the Bills win 30-0 or like 30-10 or 35-10, just be cautious. I really think the Saints have a hard time scoring more than 10 points. What I'm looking forward to this game is one, getting Keon Coleman involved. He was involved in game one, but he's been a little bit quiet the past few games. So I do want to see Keon Coleman get a touchdown. I want to see James Cook continue to dominate the run, and I want to see our defense put on a show. I want to see a defensive touchdown. I want to see the defense have like 4 to 5 sacks. I want to see the defense shut down this offense to 7 points or less. So that's what I'm looking forward to this game, and that's what I want to see. I want to see the Bills dominate on defense, allowing the Saints to score 7 or less points. And then I want to see a defensive touchdown, and I want to see a pick from Cole Bishop or Trey White, one of those players. I want to see Cole Bishop or Trey White get a pick on their resume this game. So, yeah, Bills win in dominating fashion. And then also, Bills corner real quick. What the fuck is going on with Maxwell Hairston? A lot of weird quotes from Sean McDermott saying, I don't know if he's going to be back this year. What the fuck? I thought he's going to be back after the bye. But now we're looking like week 10 or later. What is going on with these first round picks we've been drafting, except for Dalton Kincaid, who's had his troubles, but what the hell? Kyer Elam and now Maxwell Harrison with weird starts to their career? God, I'm just glad Kyer Elam's not on our team. He's now in the very worst secondary in the NFL, and I told you guys he would be a part of the worst secondary in the NFL because that man is horrible. So yeah, Bills win in dominating fashion, and I want to see the defense show out, and I think they do. Moving on. Tennessee Titans going to Houston. Houston is 0-3. Titans are 0-3. Someone's O has to go. And I think the Houston Texans O is going. They moved to 1-3. Titans moved to 0-4. They continue to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. I just think the Titans are a mess. I think the head coaching is horrible. I think Callahan will be fired sooner rather than later. I think there is a mess there, and I think it's hard to overcome the mess they have there. I like Cam Ward, but he's not ready to win games like this in Houston against a really great defense. CJ Stroud, this is your bounce back week. Bounce back. Show us what you showed us your rookie year, because after that Caleb prep talk you gave him after the game, you haven't done really good at all. In fact, you've been below average. So this is a big get back game for CJ Stroud. I'm not cashing out on my CJ Stroud stock yet. I still believe in CJ Stroud for the most part, and this is a get back game. I think he gets back. I think he gets on the board. I think he throws a touchdown to someone else not named Nico Collins. I think Woody Marks starts to stamp himself as a really good running back in this NFL, in this league, in this game. I think Woody Marks shows up receiving and rushing this game. I think he shows out Woody Marks' game. This is the Woody Marks game, and I think Christian Kirk might score a touchdown, or Cade Stover. One of those two are scoring a touchdown in this Texans game. Texans win, and there's really not much to think about when it comes to this game. Moving on, Commanders versus the Atlanta Falcons. An interesting game. The Falcons are coming off a road trip to the Carolina Panthers, getting blown out 30-0, getting shut out. It's hard to get shut out in the NFL, and the Atlanta Falcons got shut out. One, they didn't do shit on offense. Michael Penix played one of the very worst offensive games I've ever seen in my life. And then two, the Carolina Panthers were not good on offense, and somehow they won 30-0. If you look at the stats and you watch that game, Carolina Panthers were not good on offense, and they won 30-0. It's wild. The Falcons were just dreadful on offense. They were sleepwalking. I think they thought their shit didn't stink after the Vikings game, but that Vikings game was a low-scoring game, and the last touchdown didn't come until the very last moments of the fourth quarter for the Falcons. So the Falcons' offense is troubling, and parts of me thinks this is the Atlanta Falcons method. After a big win, they falcon, and then the next game after they falcon again, but in an opposite way. Instead of embarrassing themselves and losing, they might just falcon their way into a win here. So I'm playing with a lot of superstitious feelings with this game. I think the Commanders are the better team. They're getting Jaden Daniels back. The Commanders looked really good last week with Marcus Mariota against the Raiders, which the Raiders are a different problem. They can't block an offense, and they're just not a good team at all. I'm just at a point in my life when picking NFL games, talking NFL games. We're in the regular season, but I have to favor the head coach and quarterback combo over the opposing head coach and quarterback combo, especially if it's leaning majorly in a different direction. I think Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels, despite Jaden Daniels coming off a injury and he's returning, is just a way better duo and head coach and player combo than Michael Penix and Raheem Morris. I do not like Raheem Morris. I think his seat is going to get hot as the season continues, and I think Michael Penix is a bad quarterback. Michael Penix is really bad, and I think Michael Penix will be put in a situation in this game to throw himself out of the funk. Yes, Bijan Robinson should be getting his carries and his touches because he is one of the very best running backs in the league. He's incredible. He deserves to be in a way better situation than he is. I think the emphasis on this Atlanta Falcons game plan this week is throw yourself out of the funk, Michael Penix, because we need to see it. Because you were god awful last week. You were playing like Tua Tagovailoa, and honestly, a way worse version than Tua Tagovailoa. The cross bodies, the cross body throws Michael Penix was making last week were really elementary. Like, those are things you're taught in elementary school and Pee Wee football not to do. So, horrible. Bad, bad, bad outing from Michael Penix last week, and honestly, the worst QB outing of the 2025 season, alongside the Geno Smith Monday night performance against the Chargers. So, I'm going with Dan Quinn and Jaden Daniels here. I'm going with the veteran leadership of the Commanders on defense as well. I think the offensive weapons on the Commanders are enough to do the job here, and despite the Washington Commanders secondary not being good, I do think this will be a shootout of some sorts, and I do think the Commanders are more equipped to win in the shootout comparing to the Falcons because we saw how bad they were last week. And yeah, the Carolina Panthers secondary is better than the Commanders secondary because the Panthers have J.C. Horn, but I'm still taking the Commanders. I'm taking Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn over Michael Penix and Raheem Morris. So Commanders win in a high-scoring game. I think they try to make Michael Penix throw himself of out of a bad playing period, but he doesn't get it done this week. And I think trouble is on the horizon with Michael Penix because he was a top 10 pick. Oh, not only was he a top 10 pick, the Falcons paid Kirk Cousins a lot of fucking money before making him a top 10 pick. So if this doesn't work out, man, this is horrible on all accounts. So moving on, Tampa Bay going against the Philadelphia Eagles. One of my favorite teams in the NFL versus a team I really dislike, despite them winning me over in that comeback win against the Rams. I picked the Bucks to make a Super Bowl. I had the Eagles making the Super Bowl in my second Super Bowl prediction. So I think both of these teams are great, and their records through 3 games prove that. I'm going with the Buccaneers. Now, this is a risky pick. They're at home, they're underdogs, and they just lost Mike Evans for 4 weeks or so. I think the Buccaneers still win. I think they're getting Godwin back this week. They're getting Christian Wirfs back this week. And I think Godwin and Emeka Ibuka and Sterling Shepard are a good enough wide receiver trio to get the job done. And even without Mike Evans and the receiving core, I think they have some really great weapons. Cade Otton, I think Rashad White and Bucky Irvin are great running back duo. And yeah, I think people are going to be like, hey, the Bucks barely beat the Jets last week. How can I pick the Bucks here? That's completely fine, but I do think the Bucks took their foot off the pedal a little bit in that game. I think they got a little too relaxed, started thinking about next week's game a little too early, and that's why that game was so close. But the Bucks are too clutch. They are too deadly for me to pick against them, and I love the Bucks. Would I be surprised if the Eagles walked into Tampa Bay and won? No. But I think the Tampa Bay Bucks have the Eagles number, and I think the Tampa Bay Bucks without Mike Evans upset the Eagles. I think this is a fun game. I think the Bucks turn over Jalen Hurts a couple times this game. I do really, really, really like this Bucks defense. I think the Bucks defense is one of the most underrated defenses in the league. They are so well coached, and they have some really underrated players on that defense. I really like a lot of the players on that Bucks defense, and I do think that they won't be able to run the ball, the Eagles, this game. I think they will continue to have a hard time running the ball, but I think Hurts will be throwing the ball quite a bit this game, and I think the Eagles lose because of it. I know that Jalen Hurts had an incredible game against the Rams in the second half. He was unbelievable throwing the ball, but I think the Bucks know the Eagles' number, and I think they continue to prove so. I think the Bucks, as underdogs, get the win here and beat the Eagles at home in a great game, in a great win, and I think this is going to be one of the best games to watch during the 1 o'clock slate. How can you not love watching this game? 3-0 versus 3-0. Someone has to go. Baker versus Jalen Hurts. Chris Godwin and Mecca Buka versus A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Saquon Barkley versus Bucky Irvin and Rashad White. Philadelphia's Eagles' young defense versus the semi-veteran Bucks defense, and Todd Bowles at the helm. So this is a great game. I'm looking forward to it. I think the Bucks win. That is my first puppy of the week, in my opinion. Chargers versus the Giants. Jackson Dart gets his first start as an NFL quarterback. I don't know if the Giants are ready to give Jackson Dart the starting job yet. I think the only reason why they're doing this is because pressure from the fans, all the boos they've been hearing at MetLife, and I think that's the only reason why they're putting him in so early. I probably would have put in Jameis before Jackson Dart, but I guess you're left with no other choice. Brian Dable is fighting for his job here. He needs his rookie quarterback to show him something so he can keep his job. I don't think the rookie quarterback does that. I think the LA Chargers are really good. Their defense is too goddamn good, especially for a rookie quarterback to play. And I think that offense is playing the best offense under Justin Herbert that I've seen. Quentin Johnson looks like a really great wide receiver now. He's been awesome. Lad McConkey, I mean, that Keenan Allen is having a fucking hell of a return to the Chargers this year. He's been great. 3 touchdowns in 3 games. The Chargers are a better team. They're the better coach team. They have a way, way, way better defense, and they have a way, way better offense. If the Giants win this game, I'm shocked. All you can hope for as a Giants fan right now watching this game is Jackson Dart shows me something. He shows me he's going to be our future. He shows me he's going to be different. He shows me that he can run the ball. He shows me he can throw a deep ball. He looked damn good in the preseason. He looked really good against the Buffalo Bills in the preseason. Is he going to look that way in the regular season against a team that is humming? I doubt it. X for doubt, okay? Doubt it. If the Giants win this game, I am shocked. I am, matter of fact, disturbed, but I am also happy because I'm a Bills fan and I want the 1 seed this year, and it looks like the Chargers are the only team that's going to be in our way for the 1 seed. So, Giants, New Jersey Giants, do me a favor, beat the fucking Chargers this week. That's a hard task for you guys to do, but fucking find a way, please. Anyway, Chargers win. Probably not close. I just think the Chargers are better on all fronts, from coaching to staff to offense to defense to roster, just everywhere. Moving on. An interesting game. The Browns are coming off a huge, huge win in Cleveland. A blocked field goal puts them in field goal position to win. They have 3 of the best young NFL players on defense right now, rookies. They've been cooking. Mason Graham, Schweitzer, the linebacker, I just butchered his name, but that defense they got on Cleveland is one of the very best defenses in the NFL. They're heading into Detroit. Detroit is coming off a huge Monday Night Football win against the Ravens. Dominated the Ravens. 38-30 is not the accurate scoreline of that game. It was a way, way, way more dominant win. So, man, how can I not pick the Lions here? I think a lot of people will be clamoring to pick the points with the Browns here because the Browns just had a huge win against the Packers at home. I just think the Lions' offense is top 3 offense in the league, and they will be able to score on anyone, including the very best defenses in the NFL. So I have the Lions winning this game. Don't know if I would touch the spread. If I had to lean one way, I think I would lean the Browns spread just because of how great that defense is. But the Lions defense is sneakily great. They had 7 sacks on Lamar. First of all, sacking Lamar 1 time is amazing. Sacking him 7 times in a game is absurd. So I don't know how Joe Flacco doesn't have a hard time on Sunday against the Lions. So I think the Lions win, and I think they win convincingly. I wouldn't touch the Browns spread. I know I just said I favor the Browns spread, but after saying what I just said, I think the Lions win this game pretty convincingly, and I think whoever takes the Browns this week probably look like a fool because at the end of the day, the Lions just are better everywhere. Dan Campbell's a dog. Stefanski's a great coach, but I think the offense is generational on the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown hasn't dropped a pass in like 3 years. Gibbs and Montgomery. The O-line is great. I'm curious. This is a battle of the trenches here. D-line, great D-line in the Cleveland Browns versus a great offensive line in the Lions. And then on the other end, you have a great defensive line, Aiden Hutchinson and crew, who just had 7 sacks versus the Cleveland offensive line, who isn't that bad. So this is an interesting game on all fronts. If the Browns somehow win this game, they are in conversation with, hey, this team could make the playoffs. I know it was 41-17 against the Ravens, but that game is way more misleading than what actually happened. And then they could have won week 1 against the Bengals. They just blew it. and then they beat the Packers. So if they somehow win this game, there's going to be some interesting discourse about the Browns, but I don't think they win this game. I think the Lions win this game pretty convincingly, and the Lions move to 3-1. Browns move to 1-3. This is another interesting game. Can the Patriots bounce back, or what's going on with the Patriots here? What the fuck is going on? Patriots versus the Panthers. They're in Foxborough. Man, don't know if Christian Gonzalez is back. I'm pretty sure he practiced this week, so he should be back. But the Patriots are just not a good team. They're the third most in the league with penalties. They are horrible when it comes to protecting the football. 5 turnovers last week, 4 fumbles. A fumble by Antonio Gibson, 2 fumbles by Ramondre Stevenson, and then a fumble by Drake May, and then a pick by Drake May. They had 2 turnovers, costly turnovers, on the 1-yard line in Pittsburgh Steelers territory. Their weapons stink. What weapons do you trust on the Patriots? You can't trust Ramondre Stevenson anymore, despite how good he is in spots. Can't trust Antonio Gibson. You won't give Travion Henderson the ball. I don't know why. And then Stephon Diggs is washed. He can't get open. Keyshawn Butte is pretty decent. Demario Douglas is fine, and he made a horrible play on that 4th and 1, going backwards instead of falling forward. The Patriots are not a good team. However, the Panthers, they won 30-0 last week against the Falcons. Their defense looked really good. I don't know what was more significant, how bad Penix looked or how really good the Panthers looked on defense. So this is a tough spot for me, and I think I'm going to do it. I think the Panthers upset the Patriots in this spot. Now, I'm not confident in this pick. I am not. I'm just not. But what I saw from the Patriots was egregious and horrible, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Vrabel gave him a piece of his mind during this entire week of practice. I just can't trust the Patriots. I just can't trust the offense. The defense, besides Christian Gonzalez, what is there? What is there for me to be confident in? I just can't. I think this is a must-win for the Patriots, and I think they don't win here. And listen, I am essentially putting my money where my mouth is with Bryce Young, but I have to. I have to. How can I not pick Bryce Young here? Bryce Young, listen, Drake May is the better quarterback, definitely, this year, and he's definitely the better quarterback going forward. I just cannot trust what I've seen from the Patriots. How can I trust the Patriots? How? At least the Panthers look good on defense. The Panthers didn't look good on offense. So this is a really conflicting spot for me. Parts of me says, hey, the Patriots should have won that game last week, and they lost. It was all their fault. Parts of me say the Patriots are just, that's who they are. They're the Patriots of the 2020s. They just are not good. They are not who the Patriots were a while ago. And then the Panthers, are you really going to pick Bryce Young and company to beat the Patriots in Foxborough? I think that's what I'm going to do. I trust Ted McMillan, who I think is questionable going into this game. I assume he plays. I like the Hubbard-Miles Sanders combo of running backs. And I know they just lost 2 offensive linemen, the Panthers, but something tells me to pick the Panthers here. I'm pretty confident in the Panthers here. I think if they don't win, they at least cover. I think this is a close game. I see this being like a 20-17 game. This is a close fucking game. I got the Panthers here. This is my second puppy of the 1 o'clock window. I'm not confident, but give me Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers to get a win in Foxborough and shock a lot of people and upset the masses of Massachusetts. Man, the 4 o'clock slate is great again this week. All 4 of my TVs, or 3 of my TVs, will be occupied. Let's get it started with the first game. Jacksonville is going into San Francisco against the 3-0 49ers. Don't know who's going to be at quarterback this week, but honestly, my pick doesn't change. I think the Jaguars are really good on defense this year. They were one of the worst defenses last year. Actually, I think maybe the worst defense in the NFL statistically, but they changed it around on defense. They're a better coach team this year. The only bad thing about the Jaguars this year is their passing game. They can't get Brian Thomas involved as much as they want to. De'Ami Brown, the only certified receiver for them these past couple weeks has been Parker Washington. They're missing Evan Ingram. Trevor Lawrence has been struggling. He has not been good. He just hasn't. But I really think that the injuries on the 49ers is just too insurmountable. They just lost Nick Bosa for the season. How can they keep on overcoming these injuries they suffer? That is remarkable. If they somehow make the playoffs this year with all these injuries, Kyle Shanahan should easily win head coach of the year. How is he continuing to win these games without these players that he had on his roster, and it's particularly his best players. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Mac Jones this weekend. I don't know if Brock Purdy is ready yet, but give me the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Trevor Lawrence finds himself this game. I think he has his best game of the season. I think Brian Thomas Jr. has his best game of the season. The only good defensive player on that 49ers defense left is fucking Fred Warner. At least he's the most official and certified out of the bunch on that defensive end. I know Salah's a really great DC, but he's not a miracle worker. I actually think the Jaguars defense is competent. I know Mac Jones, if he's playing, is not a revenge game because, he did start quite a bit of games for the Jacksonville Jaguars last week, but he is facing his old team. So, I got the Jaguars here, man. I just trust what the Jaguars got more on defense. They're not as injured as the 49ers, and despite them having the better coach 49ers, and having CMC, and having Ricky Pearsall, and Jawan Jennings, they don't have George Kittle. They don't have Brock Purdy at the moment, so give me the Jacksonville Jaguars going into San Francisco and getting a win as an underdog, plus 3.5. I think the Jaguars do it this weekend. I think they really, really, really get it done, and I would not be surprised if people are surprised by this. I'm not. If you watch football, you shouldn't be surprised, especially if you keep up with the injury report. You should not be surprised when the Jaguars win this game. Now, the Jaguars arguably should have lost against the Texans. They also should arguably be 3-0. They really should be 3-0, the Jacksonville Jaguars, but instead they're 2-1. I think they moved to 3-1, and I think the 49ers moved to 3-1 as well at the end of this game. I think Trevor Lawrence finds himself. I think Brian Thomas Jr. gets in the end zone. I think he has more than 70 yards this week. And I think Travis Hunter also makes quite a bit of splash on offense this week. I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. This is one of the best games of the slate. This is one of the most interesting games of the slate. I'm a big fan of the Jaguars this year. There's a lot of stock in the Jaguars for me this year. And I think they proved me right this weekend against the San Francisco 49ers in a road game. Liam Cohen continues to show off as the head coach of the Jaguars. He's got this defense humming, and now it's time to get this offense humming, and I think they do it this week with the absence of Nick Bosa on the 49ers defense. Moving on. The Chicago Bears, after a 31-14 victory against the Dallas Cowboys, are heading into Las Vegas against the Las Vegas Raiders team that is just not good. Trey Tucker had that huge game for the Raiders last week, and they still lost in a blowout. Everyone on the Commanders scored for the Commanders last week. Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, Debo. I don't think Debo scored actually, but Jeremy McNichols and Bob Merritt scored. I think Marcus Mariota scored as well. So that Raiders defense is cooked. I do not trust Geno Smith. I trust the Bears right now. I think that offense looked great. I know they faced one of the very worst defenses in the league last week with the Cowboys. I think maybe the worst, especially secondary-wise, but I think Ndunze stays hot. I think DJ Moore gets it going again with another touchdown this week. I think Luther Burden gets it going again this week. I think this Chicago Bears defense stays hot. I think Caleb Williams continues to feast off his best career performance in the previous game. And I don't mind this Bears defense. I really don't. I think they're facing a worse quarterback here in Geno Smith, comparing him to Dak Prescott. So give me the Chicago Bears. I think this is a lock. I think I'd be shocked if the Raiders won this game. The Raiders can't block for Ashton Jeanty, which is depressing because I think Ashton Jeanty is great. And all the people calling Ashton Jeanty a bust really don't know what they're talking about, because Ashton Jeanty has the most yards after contact this year. And that's more yards than he has in general. You know what I mean? He has more yards after contact than he has normal rushing yards. The offensive line for the Raiders is a mess. They can't block. Watching the tape on them is just horrible. It's egregious. So, give me the Chicago Bears. I think they're better on all fronts. I think Pete Carroll, legendary coach, great college head coach, great NFL head coach. I think Ben Johnson is the man of the hour. He is and continues to be the man of the weekend. And give me Caleb Williams. Give me Tremaine Edmonds. Give me the Chicago Bears. I think the Chicago Bears O-line continues to have a great week as well. Chicago Bears win. I think this is a lock. I'd be really shocked if the Raiders win this game. Moving on. Another great game. Just another great game. Indianapolis Colts 3-0 going to LA Rams. Rams are 2-1. They should be 3-1. They should be 3-0. My fault. The Eagles just stole the game from the Rams, and they continue to own the Rams. The Rams can't beat the Eagles. That's their only problem. But besides that, I think the Rams are one of the very best teams in the NFL. All the weapons they got, the defense, how it's coached is so fucking incredible. Jared versus a dog. I think the Indianapolis Colts meet their fate here. I think they go back to the ground here. They go back down to the soil where they belong. Listen, they're a fine team. They're a good team. They're not 3-0 good. They're not undefeated good. I think the Rams are more undefeated good than the Colts, and I think the Rams win this game. I think the Colts defense starts to show its imperfections. I think Daniel Jones turns the ball over once or twice here. I do think they continue to run the ball really well, despite the Rams being really good defensively on the run. I think Jonathan Taylor in that offensive line is one of the very best offensive lines in the league. I think Jonathan Taylor continues to have a great season in this game because of how great that offensive line is. I think Tyler Warren continues to be really good, but I don't see the Colts winning this game. If the Colts win this game, it is one of the most impressive wins of the season, despite them being 3-0, because they're officially stamping themselves as an official playoff contender. I don't think they're Super Bowl contenders. I don't think they're AFC Championship contenders, but they are a contender in the playoffs for sure if they win this game. I don't think they win this game. I think the Rams are the better team. I think this is probably liable to be a shootout. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game, and I think I'm siding with the better offense and the better head coach. Sean McVay and this offense get it done. They win. Indy moves to 3-1. Rams move to 3-1 in a great game. I think this is one of the best games of the day, and I think it's a shootout. Shootout. Moving on. By the way, Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, are you kidding me? That's the best wide receiver duo in the league. That's disgusting. Did you see what Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams did last week? I think they continue to do that this week. They're gross. Moving on. Who would have thought these teams would be 1-2 through three games? I don't think the Ravens did. I don't think the Chiefs did. Both teams are 1-2, however. Chiefs are underdogs again at home. This is the second time they've been underdogs, and I think it's rightfully so. Yes, the Ravens' defense looks bad. In fact, they look bottom 3, bottom 5 bad on defense. Nothing is working. Yair Alexander is not working for them. They're without Kyle Van Noy and another person. Malachi Starks yet to stamp his imprint on the team. However, I think this is a bounce back game for the Ravens. I know that's crazy to say because they scored 30 points in the last game, but I think the Ravens win this game. The Chiefs, listen, both of these teams have problems. The Chiefs, good defense, bad and unimpressive offense without their two receivers, Xavier Worthy, who is going to be back this week, and Rashee Rice. So, honestly, Tyquan Thornton and Xavier Worthy being back is huge. However, the Chiefs can't run the ball. And, yeah, I just do not trust Patrick Mahomes right now. I think Patrick Mahomes does not look great throwing the ball, and I think Kelsey is washed, and he's dealing with the fact that he's washed, and he's having a hard time with it. He's too busy doing podcasts with Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro, which is awesome, by the way. As a film guy, awesome. Didn't watch the podcast, won't watch the podcast, but awesome to see Leo doing a podcast. But anyway, I do think the Ravens offense is just going to cause problems for this Chiefs defense, especially with the Chiefs offense not being able to score. I think the Chiefs offense will struggle to score this week. I do think this will be a semi-close game. I mean, it's -2.5 spread for the Ravens going into KC. I think, listen, the Baltimore Ravens were favorites going into Buffalo. They're favorites going into KC. They arguably should have won against the Buffalo Bills if they didn't blow that tremendous lead, 15 points with 3 minutes left, 4 minutes left, whatever it was. I think the Ravens win. Call it chalky. I just think the Ravens win this game, and I think it's due to their offense. I think Derrick Henry stops fumbling this game. I think the Ravens and Lamar continue to be impressive on offense, and I think their defense has a wake-up call in this game. The Ravens need to win this game, and yeah, the Chiefs will move to 1-3, but they're the Chiefs. They'll find a way to make the playoffs. I think 9-8 can make the playoffs this year. Wouldn't be surprised seeing the Chiefs going 10-7 or 9-8 and making the playoffs. So, Chiefs lose at home. As much as I want to pick the Chiefs to win as underdogs at home, I did that for the Eagles game, and I learned my lesson. I thought the Eagles were the better team then. I think the Ravens are a better team now. I'm picking the favorite going into Arrowhead. I just don't think the Chiefs are who we thought they were, especially without Rashee Rice. I know this receiving core this week is going to be Tyquan Thornton, who's been really good for them. It's going to be Xavier Worthy. It's going to be Hollywood Brown and Kelsey, but Kelsey is not good anymore. He's not a threat, in my opinion. I know Roquan Smith has been looking rough, but I think he handles business. I just can't. I have to pick the better offense in this game. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 27-20 game, though, or a 30-24 or 30-20 game. I think the Ravens win no matter the score, and I am curious to see if Lamar continues to look stressed out, because he looked stressed out in that game Monday night against the Lions. I just can't take much stock away from the Chiefs that game against the Giants. Pat looked awful. He threw like 30 behind the line of scrimmage passes. He threw 30 fumbles. literally threw fumbles like 30 times last week against the Giants. If it wasn't for Okereke being a dumbass and not falling on the ball or letting himself get stripped by a quarterback, that might be a completely different game. And Tyquan Thornton making that miraculous catch might be a different game. I am not trusting this Chiefs team. I don't care what uniform they're wearing and if they're called the Kansas City Chiefs. This isn't the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me the Ravens here. It's disrespectful to pick against the Chiefs as underdogs, but I didn't do it the first time, and I wanted to, and I'm doing it the second time for sure. The better team wins this game, and the better team is the Baltimore Ravens, despite what you think, okay? That's what it is. Ravens win this game as road favorites against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Moving on to the final game of Sunday. The Packers are heading into Dallas. Micah Parsons makes his return to Dallas. I think this is a blowout. I think this is a stinker of a Sunday Night Football game. It is going to be fun watching Micah get his revenge and sack the shit out of Dak. I think that Micah might have 3 to 4 sacks this game. 2 to 3 if I'm being nice. I think the Cowboys are dead. No CD Lamb on this offense. I know they have George Pickens and Turpin or whoever the fuck else at the wide receiver core. Jake Ferguson at tight end. Javonte Williams has been pretty good for them this year. That offense is not good without CD Lamb. That defense is the worst defense in the league. Packers are pissed off after a Browns loss in Cleveland, a game they should have won and they lost. Packers are motivated. 1, for Micah, and 2, because they lost to the fucking Browns the week before. The Packers blow out the Dallas Cowboys in catastrophic fashion. I think this game might be like 35 to 10 or 40 to 10. It's a 25 to 30 point victory for the Packers. If it's anything less, I would be shocked. I know it's the NFL and the spread's only -6.5 for the Packers heading into Dallas. I just don't see it unless Schottenheimer and the Dak Prescott Cowboys play the offense of their lifetime without CeeDee Lamb. I don't see how this is a close game. I think the Packers score at will. I think they have long possessions. I think they force the ball over on defense because the Packers defense is the best defense in the league, you can argue. I know I said that for like 3 other teams this video, but the Packers are in the top 5, if not top 3, if not number 1, despite losing that Browns game. So I think the Packers win in catastrophic fashion if you're a Cowboys fan. I think Cowboys put brown bags over their head and walk out of this game early if you're watching the game live in AT&T Stadium. So that's it for Sunday games. I'm going to do my Monday night predictions right now real quick, even though I'm going to be uploading a video on Monday. Here are my predictions for the Monday night slate. What 2 horrible games we have for Monday night. The Jets are heading into Miami to play the Miami Dolphins. I think people are going to get tricked here. I think people are going to be like, hey, the Miami Dolphins played really good against the Bills on Thursday night. They should win this game easily, right? Disagree. I don't know who's going to be starting quarterback for the Jets. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Justin Fields coming off a concussion injury, but I'm taking the Jets here. I like what I saw from Aaron Glenn last week. I like the fight I saw from the Jets last weekend against the Bucs. They could have easily rolled over against a much superior team, and they didn't, and they fought their hearts off until the end. They fought their asses off. I really enjoyed what I saw from Tyrod Taylor in the second half of that game. I thought that was inspiring football. Even after throwing the pick six, he still rallied and fought. I think people are going to get trapped here. I think people are going to take fucking the Miami Dolphins because of how well, quote-unquote, they played against the Bills. In reality, the Bills were a little conservative in that game. They were overlooking their opponent a little bit in that game. And at the end of the day, the Dolphins are an in-division opponent. And yes, the Jets are an in-division opponent to the Miami Dolphins, but I think Miami Dolphins, yes, they need this game. And yes, they have better weapons on offense. But I do think the Jets will have success running the ball here, whether it's with Justin Fields or Breece Hall. I think the Jets O-line is good. I think this Jets O-line is good enough against the Miami Dolphins defense. I think the Miami Dolphins defense is not good, and I think the Jets went outright in Miami. And I think Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer get fired after this game. So depends what type of Miami Dolphins fan you are. You might be happy with what I just said. I think the Dolphins lose this game, and I think people get lulled into taking the Dolphins here. This is a trap game for bettors. You're getting lulled into taking the Dolphins here. You're like, -3.5 Dolphins. That should be easy. They played the Bills close. Unless I'm overthinking it, but I don't think so. I think this is a bounce-back game for the Jets defense. I think, yeah, Sauce Gardner struggled last week against Emeka Egbuka and Mike Evans, but at the end of the day, Mike Evans is a vet, and Emeka Egbuka is playing some of the best wide receiver football I've seen a rookie play in some time. So, give me the Jets in a close game. I do think Mike McDaniels and Chris Greer are fired after this game. I see like a 30-27 or 28-21, 28-24 Jets victory. I think the Jets move to 1-3, and I think the Dolphins move to 0-4. Just a hilarious game. There's going to be a lot of memes fostered from this game, but ultimately I think the New Jersey Jets get it done in Miami in Hard Rock Stadium. Moving on. What a disastrous game this is. I can see why this was made because you're imagining Joe Burrow would be the quarterback at this point in time for the Bengals, but it's Jake Browning. They're going into Denver. They're going into altitude to face the Denver Broncos. They've been massively underwhelming and underperforming. They lost the Chargers game they should have won. They really should be a 2-1 team or maybe a 3-0 team. Honestly, maybe just 2-1 because the Chargers deserve to win that game, especially with how Herbert played. But yeah, I think the Broncos bounce back. I think the Bengals are just they're defeated. They're pissed. They're without their quarterback, who they consider one of the very best quarterbacks in the NFL, and a lot of people do. And I think Bo Nix has a bounce back game against this Bengals defense. I think the Broncos have a bounce back game against this Bengals offense with Jake Browning. I think Jake Browning continues to throw 2 or more picks in NFL games this year. I think Jake Browning has another disastrous game. I think Pat Surtain might find a pick on his board this week. I think the Broncos win this game, and I really don't see this being close. I think the Broncos, not as badly, but almost replicate what the Vikings did to the Bengals last weekend. If the Bengals somehow upset the Broncos season is done. The Broncos season is done, and what they've retroactively done is relieve the pressure off of the Chiefs. Because if you go 2-2 and the Chiefs go 1-3 this week, it is making things a lot harder for the Chiefs. So, Broncos win this game. Please, win it. And I think they do. I think they win in convincing fashion, and I think they probably cover the -7.5. Because Jake Browning is not a good NFL quarterback. Jamar Chase looks out of it. Everyone looks out of it on the Bengals, and I think they continue to look out of it in this game. They're demoralized. I think the Bengals move to 2-2, and I think the Broncos move to 2-2. Shockingly, the Bengals won their first 2 games. They should have lost their first 2 games. The Bengals should be 0-4, but they're not somehow. They should be 0-4. Still don't know how they won the Jaguars game. Anyway, that is it for my Week 4 picks. I picked Thursday through Sunday, ultimately to Monday. Enjoy this week, fellas. Get yourself a couple of cases of beer. Have and open up and crack open a couple of beers. Enjoy the day. Enjoy your time out. It's a great weekend when the NFL football. It's a great weekend when the NFL is on. It's a great weekend when football is being played. Saturday for college. I think next year I'll start talking about college football on this YouTube channel because honestly this is too much for me right now. I run a film account and I run a football account / sports account. I think as this year continues to progress, I will be talking about the NBA loosely, and I will be talking about MMA and UFC Saturdays. So stay tuned for that because I'm gonna have to do something when the football season is over. I can't just abandon this account when football is not being played. So it's your boy, Matt Talks Sports. Follow me at Matt Talks Films if you want to hear some film discussion and film discourse. Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another comes out this weekend. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for my review. Friday night, that will come out. Or maybe Thursday night because I'm seeing it Thursday. I don't give a fuck. I can't miss a Paul Thomas Anderson film on the first day. Are you kidding me? So it is your boy, Matt Talks Sports. I had fun predicting and chatting about the Week 4 NFL slate. Let me know in the comments if you watch this full video, or at least you're watching a little bit of it. And check me out everywhere at Matt Talks Sports. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Sports for more content like this. And guess what? I'll see you boys for the recap of Week 4 Monday. Stay tuned.